Okay. Call the Wednesday, February 14th, 2024 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order. Roll call.
Roger Froman.
Sean Cuff.
Chuck Smallwood.
Catherine Nyberger.
Sam Solars.
Steve Gritman.
Jessica Bonnewell.
Okay. If you'd stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Look for approval of the agenda with the addition handed out by Jessica.
That wasn't an addition, it's just a edit to the memo from the engineers.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, this.
Approval to the agenda, please. For the agenda, please.
Okay, I'd like to, one change to the minutes of the previous meeting.
That's the next thing is the minutes.
I'm sorry.
This is for the agenda.
Okay, for the agenda, sorry.
Your second?
Oh, sorry, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of the minutes.
Okay. I'd like to have one change where on page 5 of 6, final paragraph, starting with Mr. Gripman, and I'd like to strike after the word floodplain and strike the remaining part of the sentence of what I spoke.
Mr. Grimmon stated. Perfect.
So you want to strike the language that says, but with the updated maps, it is now included in the floodplain area, which he believes it should have been all along.
Right. You know, my house is not listed on it, and I need to strike the remaining piece of that. You know, after the meeting, I can speak with Mr. Gripman. Have you received the Montrose firm map from FEMA?
I do not have them yet. I've just
Got
seen
it.
correspondence from
Understand. Fair enough.
So that will be
Hence,
stricken from the
I
record.
need to strike what I misspoke.
Okay.
You're not 100% on that.
Correct,
Okay.
because the final firm for Montrose has not been released. You know,
You were on the old one.
Okay.
I was not on the old one, but yeah.
Okay. With the omission stated by Mr. Froman, Commissioner Froman, look for approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Done.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, at 7:04, we'll close the planning and zoning meeting and open the public hearing for SJB Masonry and turn it over to Mr. Gritman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commission, the item tonight here is request for a final plat and a conditional use permit to replat some existing outlots in the Montrose Business Park. It's an industrial and commercial zoned area on the west side of the city, basically along Clementa, north of US Highway 12. And there are a handful of development parcels in there, and some of those are platted as outlots, as I indicated. 2 of those outlots, the applicant is in pending ownership of and wishes to construct a contractor's facility, including a building that out of which they would operate their business, a parking area and circulation space, and then an open outdoor storage portion of that property as well. The site plan that you have in front of you does not occupy the entire portion of this area, but there's obviously room for expansion as the applicant may grow, and the property itself then runs to the westerly boundary of the city at the edge there. It's bounded on the north by existing railroad track, and the applicant is proposing to then, as I mentioned, replat those outlots into a single development parcel, and then receive a conditional use permit to operate the business as they've proposed. There was a question earlier about the material that you have on your table tonight. That is an additional comment from the city engineer, and the engineer did an extensive review of the project. One note is that the stormwater pond that is serving this facility would be located on the northerly piece along the railroad that's currently platted as Outlot B. The engineer is asking that that stormwater pond be included in an area that gets kind of a separate outlot that gets dedicated to the city. The city operates and maintains the stormwater management system, and so that pond will serve this facility, but the city would take over maintenance over long term, so we would like that to be on property that the city actually owns. So we'll propose to the applicant to modify the plat slightly to shift that line to be inclusive of that pond. And then the remainder of Outlot B would then be placed as part of a drainage and utility easement. As time goes on, development happens either to the south in the commercial area or more on the applicant's area in the industrial area. We may modify those boundaries or modify the stormwater management system as needed. So we'd work with the property owners in the area as future development comes forward. So it's a modification to the plat, and then that would then slightly modify the applicant's boundaries. Doesn't actually affect their proposed development because the area that they are proposing to build on is all on the southerly piece of these two parcels. As I mentioned, that facility is a contractor's facility in the I-1 district. This area is guided and zoned for industrial uses. A contractor's business is a permitted use in this area. The conditional use permit applies for the outdoor storage portion. And the city allows outdoor storage in this district. By that conditional use permit, there are a handful of conditions that are identified in your code to manage and consider outdoor storage conditional use permits specifically. Identified those, listed them in the code for you. The majority of them really raise no issue for this particular location. It's pretty remote. It's bounded, as I said, by industrial areas and the railroad and the city boundary on the west. There is some residential in the township west of this boundary, and the applicant's grading plan shows a berm along the westerly boundary so that there is some screening between what would be the outdoor storage area and those residential uses. And as I mentioned, a portion of that westerly portion of the property then would remain kind of pending future growth and development. Energy Drive is the street that serves this property. That's a public street that terminates in a cul-de-sac. That cul-de-sac is an easement, but one of the things we'll look for as part of the plat is to include that as a dedicated street. The engineer has indicated that the paved portion of that cul-de-sac currently is adequate to meet our code requirements. It does require the addition of curb, which is typical public street improvement. And the engineer would work with the applicant to make sure that the final parking lot plan, the paved area of their parking lot, fits that right-of-way dedication. It appears that there might be an adjustment or two, but nothing that would affect either circulation or fire access or parking on the property. The parking that's proposed here is mostly on the west area, that paved portion, and that where the property would access for the cul-de-sac is really circulation and truck, and then allowing trucks to circulate around the property to the storage yard. So with the storage yard itself, those again are allowed by conditional use permit. When we evaluate conditional use permits, our approach always is that, and according to state law, these are presumed to be allowed. These are uses that are acceptable in the zoning district, but require some special review to make sure that that particular development aspect of the site is going to meet your codes and not create any burdens on surrounding property or other public facilities, et cetera. The primary exception to that list of items is the proposed surfacing of the storage area. The item 3 of the list of conditions for outdoor storage requires that the storage area is blacktopped or concrete surfaced unless specifically approved by the city council. So this provision provides an allowance for a waiver from the pavement requirement. The standard is that it should be paved. The applicant is asking that their particular storage yard not be required to be paved. They have indicated that because of the types of equipment and vehicles, tracked vehicles and other heavy equipment, that asphalt is rapidly torn up, and they're seeking basically a recycled or mixed recycled surface, kind of a gravel surface of sorts. So the code accommodates that allowance. The council has to specifically act on that as part of the conditional use permit, but we call it out here because it is one of the requests that is part of this particular proposal. Beyond that, the various conditions here that are identified appear to be consistent with the applicant's proposal. It is proposed to be fenced. The applicant would indicate and will have to show that lighting is compliant with the code. Again, because it's a pretty remote location, that should be a pretty simple thing to comply with. The storage area does not take up parking space, and that's certainly the case here. There's a significant amount of parking, all of which is not part of the storage area itself, so there's room there to operate that facility without impacting parking for the facility, either for employees or other visitors. The property is not to abut property zoned for residential or business use. The storage area here abuts other, railroad technically, or other industrial property on the north side of the site. So it's consistent with that requirement. It's not located in the front yard, which is also a requirement. And it is not to abut a school or public park, which this one certainly complies with that as well. And then finally, the storage area does not include material considered hazardous under federal or state environmental law. In this particular case, the storage area will consist primarily of equipment, but the applicant will propose some bins for, this is a masonry contractor, so the applicant is proposing bins to provide aggregate storage, and then a silo, piece of equipment, to store cement that they would load onto a mobile mixing truck that they use to take off-site to their job sites. All of those are in compliance with our code. There is no specific provision that would impact these negatively. And again, these are all located on the north side toward the railroad facility. And north of the railroad is also zoned industrial and is wetland, so it should stay pretty remote from other land uses in the area. As a result, staff believes that the applicant has met the required findings for conditional use permit here. We think that the location, certainly because of its industrial zoning, but also because of its location in the community, should fit this particular use quite well. The engineer's report covers a significant amount of engineering detail and plat-related detail, and we would incorporate the amended item 1 as part of their, on your table tonight as part of the engineer's report. And with those comments, Mr. Chair, staff does recommend approval with those conditions in the engineer's report specifically. And with that, I will close, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Well, I have many questions. First of all, I don't agree with it being a remote location. I can see the railroad, and I can see the Outlot A completely from my living room. And it's my understanding, when this industrial park basically was initiated, that the property north across the tracks north of outlet A would be residential, more than likely R3. And I think by having the silo, this dry silo, according to the diagrams, is 55 feet tall. That's a 5-story building, which does not meet our height requirements at all. In fact, in 1015 zoning, it says II is 26 feet high. And then in 1080, it says it's 45 feet high. So you have discrepancy there. And I can tell you that a 55-foot silo is well over the tree line. And it's going to be visible on the whole west side of Montrose. It's not remote at all, in my view. And also, right next to the agricultural north, facing Clementa and 55th Avenue South, that's a natural preserve. And it's residential. And all of the farm properties that have been converted or parceled or what are platted are all R1, are all residential. And right behind us is this outlet B is B2. So I just feel it should be, a mixed use, and residential should be taken into consideration, because that is hopefully what's going to be developed north of the tracks and north of outlet A. If and when, hopefully, that will be residential. In a 55-foot silo or a 5-foot building, 5-story building, certainly doesn't fit into Montrose's residential planning, in my view.
I think, yeah, and I think that's certainly the planning commission's decision to make that finding one way or the other, and certainly I agree with that. Let me address the height issue. The 26-foot height requirement is for accessory buildings, and the 45-foot height, excuse me, is for principal buildings. But there is a clause in the code in 1017 that's expressly exempts mechanical and electrical appurtenance equipment from the height requirements. So this would be, in our view, according to the way the code is written, exempt from the
Well, that's in
26 or 45.
that's in I1 and I2 both, that clause.
Right, but for any district,
But,
equipment, mechanical equipment such as this is exempt from the height requirement.
yes, but if you go into Highway 12 across from Culver's, in that area, there's a cement facility. And it's extremely unattractive, to put it mildly. It's just not something I want to see. It's rusted. It's extremely unattractive. And that's what we would be viewing on the western side of Montrose and all of the residential areas. And if it's a 55-foot story building, you're going to see it all the way up and down Clementa, not just in my neighborhood.
And this is just, it's a piece of equipment. The property you referred to in Delano is a full mix plant.
I know I was in there. I know it is, but I'm still saying the silo. I'm addressing the silo.
Yeah, but them are permanent structures.
And they're rusty, and they are very unattractive. And we just don't need that in our residential area. And where residential is right across the street.
Yeah.
And hopefully it will be right across the tracks when that property is sold, if and when it should be residential.
Yeah,
So you're going to have a proposed residential area facing this,
yeah, and
it's,
it's a business district, and residential abuts just east of there.
yes, but to have mixed use is what I would propose, and that doesn't include, five-story silos.
And like Mr. Gritman addressed, it's a piece of equipment, so there isn't really an ordinance for that. Yes, some equipment may be unattractive, but
Well,
allowed.
mixed use usually does not have that type of equipment in their parcels. And I think that's what we should be looking at. I mean, we have residential and proposed business behind these two parcels, highway business.
Yeah,
Does this property go all the way up to that road that runs parallel to 12 after you get over the tracks? Is that,
it's just before the track, right next to the,
Clemento.
oh, just, it's on the
Exit.
south side? I thought you said.
on the other side of the power
Is there a
station.
little section on the north side too of the tracks, or no?
South side, are you talking?
Isn't there woods along that, the north side? So that if they had I'm just trying to see exactly where this is, because it might alleviate some of what you're talking about, I think.
Pardon?
Well, right next
Where
to,
the business complex is, there's woods to the north of the train tracks there, and then what you're talking about is that farmland that might be developed?
And that's natural preserve. Does the city
Right.
own that?
So I'm saying that's gonna stay there, right?
Yes.
So wouldn't that block the view for if and when that farmland is ever developed, that wouldn't block the view for,
Not for me. I can see,
oh, where, you live over there, where are you at?
I'm right on Hill Street, right behind this Meadowbrook. And I can see this, I mean, it'll be in our living rooms, all the living rooms on Hill Street are
The houses on the
oriented
cul-de-sacs.
towards the west,
To the east?
towards the west.
to the north.
All of our major living areas overlook Meadowbrook Cottage area and
You own a farm?
this property.
No, she's up over
think where
here.
she
Hill
is.
Street is that big U shape.
I mean, it's just that whole neighborhood. And you, believe me, where you live, you're going to see a five-story silo also.
Clementa's right
The
here.
Excel plant right here?
The Excel plant is right next to this property.
Yeah, and this is to the north
This
of
is
that.
Clementa, the railroad tracks,
Yeah,
and then you've got a clump of houses to the northeast.
But the agricultural area is slated,
what you're saying.
should be R1, or not, R3 at least, residential. So that, that whole development, that whole area is
Yeah.
residential.
Are you pulling that up, Jessica?
I know there's a map of it in here. I saw it when I was going through it earlier.
I'm just trying to get an idea of what you're saying, you know what I mean, as far as houses are. Because I come down that road all the time and I just can't think where.
Yeah, it's to the northeast of there.
These are the pictures of silos.
To the northeast of there.
These are the,
Yeah, where this is.
You mean that
she's
whole
up over
neighborhood
here.
that's way to the east?
Houses are like right here.
Yeah, you got the little phone
There's not
thing.
even a house for probably a quarter of a mile.
Yeah, you got the little phone.
It is
thing
about,
across the
it's
track.
about 1,500 feet to the closest house.
That's what I thought,
Yeah.
yeah. So you're back in that neighborhood, kind of the original neighborhood.
but my point is,
Yeah.
this vacant agricultural area, right across the tracks, B, railroad tax outlet A, then there's agriculture that is going to be residential.
Right.
And then beyond that, residential is a natural preserve. That was, the owner deeded it.
Okay.
I think the city owns it, does it not? It does.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful spot for residential. You could have, Hosta Gardens or whatever and make a fabulous park. And it's a beautiful area. Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's residential,
okay.
so, I mean, what's addressed here is residential property that's lying to the south across the highway. It isn't even taken into consideration, the neighborhoods that I'm referring to.
Yeah, but just west of there is a huge grain silo.
Pardon?
Just west of this, there's a farm with a grain silo on the property.
Well, a
that'll
grain
be bigger
silo is
than any
beautiful
type.
compared to these dry silos. I took pictures of Kemstone. Go in and take a look.
Yeah, we're not talking Semstone, I'm talking the silo. It's been there since I've been out here.
But that's
Just to
not
the
a
west
dry
of it.
silo. That's a farm silo.
Yeah,
It's nothing, not where you're having trucks pulling up and having great big iron, stakes for trucks to back into and that type of thing. This will be like Chemstones. This is what it will look like. Will it not?
Can I speak?
yeah, he can step up to the mic so we can record it, please.
So our intention is to get a new silo, and it'll be painted. Can I say it'll never rust? No. But our intent is to have a nice, clean looking site, and it's something that has an auger come off of it that feeds into the truck. So I didn't print out what exact silo that we're looking at.
And
But
that's
it's-
what I object to. We have this building, but the point of contention is this silo, And there's absolutely no drawings, there's no diagrams, there's nothing here to indicate to us what their plans are.
Well, and the biggest reason I didn't print out the exact one is because I haven't purchased it yet. And it may vary a little bit from manufacturer to manufacturer. So I haven't purchased one, and that's why I didn't want to provide a specific spec on what we're putting in there. So until something would be approved, that's when I would go to
Right.
buy it.
And the silo is what's gonna hold that concrete that you were talking about? Is
Yeah,
that-
100,000 pounds.
Okay,
Yeah, it's just a dry powder cement.
oh, okay, but it's connected, it's a machine though, and it's not like it's not something that's just stationary in one place?
Yeah, so
I'm just trying to picture what you're talking about,
it's a silo, and then
like a farm silo.
yeah, like she mentioned at Semstone, they have those,
Gemstone. It's on legs. It looks like a pier.
Okay, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
and then it has an auger, so it comes down and has an auger that puts it into the truck,
Okay,
and then would take the
Got it.
truck on site.
Is it 5 stories high? That's what it says.
So there's different size ones, and there's different heights that they can be. So if it is something that, if we go with ideally, we'd have a bigger silo to store more cement, but maybe it's something we even look at going to 2 shorter ones.
Where do you currently store your cement? I didn't see a silo when I went over to Watertown to check out.
We don't currently have a
You
silo.
do not have a silo at Watertown. So how do you operate?
We have to buy ready mix and everything from a plant currently. So this is part of our growth and development.
so you're bigger, by the way, congratulations, and, so this is a way to do it for cheaper, right? Which you pass on your customers, right?
No.
Yeah, okay. That's why you don't have, okay. That makes sense.
Okay, besides the silo, is there any other questions or?
Yes, what type of siding is planned for the building itself. It's a big building. What is the entire length of the building?
Yeah, got it, thanks.
Did you want me to speak to this?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, maybe I'll just grab this. So on this portion right here will be the office. And it's gonna be a precast tip-up wall with a brick veneer on it.
Okay,
That would be cast in place. This back here would be a pole frame building on the backside for the shop. On this side here, we're actually considering doing like pickleball courts that would be open to the public to be able to play. And then, on this, it's a little difficult to see. We're gonna have some brick panels on here, and there'd be metal siding with these eyebrows on there.
is it a pole building?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, so this portion would be precast, tip-up walls, and this portion would be pole building.
Okay, the back side facing the tracks, residential areas.
Catherine,
Yeah, I
sheet 13, it shows you,
know, I've looked at all of them. But that's going to be this is going to be the back side facing the track.
Correct.
Are those garage door open? And it's going to be gravel.
We intend to put a concrete strip around the whole building. And that would come out probably 5, and maybe even at these doors, up to 10 feet out. And then it would be,
Okay.
yeah, it is a nice looking building.
yeah, we try to dress it up with these eyebrows and,
Yeah, it looks sharp.
That's the front of the building, though.
yeah.
It's not. The back is what I'm concerned with the back of the property. I know the front is very nice, but it's the back of the property that's going to be viewed by the residents in the western area of Montrose.
Every other building going down that strip, there's residential from behind Casey's all the way to the edge of town.
And a lot
The
of
new
it is.
Dollar General,
And a lot of it is not that pleasant. And I'm just trying to, just be proactive and keep the neighborhood, the western part of the city of Montrose residents, having a nice area to live in, not to have anything that's going to degenerate their property values.
I don't really feel that that's gonna deter. I mean, there's a lot of backyards you can look into going through town that are residential that I'd rather look at this building.
No, but that's beside the point. I'm just looking at the development area behind this building,
Yeah,
which is going to be residential.
eventually at some point, someday.
Yes,
There's
but
no one there now.
no, there isn't. But that doesn't mean it's remote. It's just that agricultural facility has not sold. All of the other ones along Clementa basically have sold. A lot of them, and it's R1 residential. But I must say, I talked to Watertown, and they say that, the city of Watertown, and they said that your business and your people are just wonderful, and that we would be, lucky or not lucky, but
Fortunate to have
very
them in the
fortunate
community.
to have your business here in our town. So I'm not, I'm just looking at the residential areas, and then just trying to be proactive to keep it a nice area for future development and for present residents, that's all.
No, I appreciate
I'm not objecting, I'm objecting to individual facilities or like the silo one, whatever. But other than that, I'm not objecting.
Okay. Was there any other points on it?
Let me see here. No concrete washout should be completed on the site, so you're not going to have a hose anywhere near those trucks that come in, because that's the drainage ditch behind. That's,
So we would intend to clean our vehicles and whatnot, but we go to the site to pour, and then we wash out there.
you don't wash here, because, cement isn't stardust,
Cement isn't what?
Stardust.
Oh,
It's,
Yeah, it says right in the recommendations that they won't be cleaning out the trucks on site, but they are able to clean their equipment and wash their trucks on the property. The trucks get dirty, they go in and out of
no, but I'm
construction sites all the time, and
I'm
they can
talking
wash
about
They're
their
not gonna
Cement
clean the cement
residue.
on the property.
cement residue.
They're gonna they'll clean the dirt off the trucks at the property, right?
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's stated right in the, I'm not sure where it is right offhand, maybe,
It's number 8.
yeah. But that's already called out that that won't be allowed on the property.
Well, I'm concerned about the height of the silo, definitely. And, I certainly wouldn't want to see that over the tree lines, where it's protruding.
Yeah, I
in
still hold,
residential areas.
I still hold with the argument that there's farm silos within eyeshot of you too, but them are
Well,
okay.
There's church steeples also, but, there was a farm silo on this property. This is the old Brummer property. There was a huge barn and a silo on it.
Yeah, there was one on First Street when I moved here too that they had to
But,
knock down.
Yes, but a barn in a silo, a farm scene, is not an industrial scene, and it's not this huge legged rusting metal silo. And that's what cement site, go spend some time at Kimstone.
I spent 20 years on job sites.
Well, it's just that I'm just being proactive, and I'm just trying to look out for the residential areas.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
Oh.
Anything else, Mr. Gritman?
Not unless you have other questions of me.
Okay, then
I think you need to ask for other public comment, Mr. Chair.
oh, I'm sorry. Would anybody like to step forward and make any further comments? I'm sorry, forgot about that step. It's been a while.
Thank you.
All right. Then I will look for a motion to close the public hearing and open the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting back up.
I'll motion to close the public hearing and open up the
Second.
Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, at 7:40, I close the public hearing and return to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Any other discussion on the proposal?
I appreciate what you're saying for the people who live over there, but I still feel like we should, move forward. This is seems like to me, it's a huge net positive for the community, but that's just my perspective. And the fact that all the eyes are dotted and the Ts are crossed and that these guys approve everything, and it seems to be, I mean,
Well,
an opportunity to bring a local successful business into town seems very positive to me, you know, but I do understand, you know, where you
How are
live.
we going to address the silo issue, the height of the silo?
City council,
Are we going to?
city council.
It's 55 feet. It's 5 stories.
How tall is the water tower?
About twice that,
90-foot tower just to
130.
the west of it.
Water tower's about 130.
Okay. Is there a problem with the water tower? What's the difference between 55 feet and 130?
Well, it's just the residential,
I understand that, but, I mean, here we got a business that wants to come into town. 55 feet, he had mentioned, maybe having, 2 at a reduced height. I mean, that's obviously something that the council, I think, can talk about, but, I mean, if we're gonna just sit here and argue over about the height of the silo, I mean, again, we got 130-foot water tower sitting out there, we got one right back here. So I don't think we're gonna gain anything by sitting here arguing about it. Let's bring it, in my opinion, let's move it along to council, and then we can kind of talk about the silos at that point.
Because we can't omit it, it's allowed by our ordinances. That would be a council call, if they want to be more stringent on that. We can make that recommendation to them.
Because the exception does state that, but also it doesn't state heights. And the height is 45 in both industrial 1 and industrial 2 areas. So I just think you need to look at that.
We can make that recommendation to council.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
The recommendation that there's people that have concerns,
That
is that
they
what we're
stay
saying?
within the zoning ordinance.
Just
I
to
mean,
confirm.
that's very nebulous where they say the exception.
So you just want them to look at that ordinance more closely and.
Well, here, I have it right here. I can read it to you. Machine shops, this is I1, machine shops and metal products manufacturing, when not equipped with heavy exceeding 50-ton pressure punch presses, plastic injection molding presses with clamp force exceeding 150 tons, outside dry plastic silos, mass production welding, robot gas cutting torches, outside air filters, and cooling towers, or any equipment which may create noise, vibration, smoke, odor, heat, or glare, etc., disturbing to adjacent properties.
Next to adjacent properties was the last sentence?
Okay, it's not adjacent to anything.
Well, it is. It's
Xcel Energy.
adjacent to, even though it's vacant property, you can't, I mean, it's what is planning? Planning is to project into the future. And projecting into the future, in my view, is that vacant property eventually will be residential.
Yeah.
That's all.
That might be true. I mean, to be honest, there's a lot of other places in Montrose where I think they'll build long before there, because there's not like I don't feel like there's a lot of space there.
That wouldn't be logistically
No,
make sense.
Well, it's just, I feel we should be proactive.
but I understand what you're saying about looking to the future. It makes sense.
I mean, we have some areas that are quite objectionable
Yeah, and
as far as aesthetics. And to continue that practice, I don't feel is good.
And I guess I'm with Sam on this one. I mean, we've already got tall structures inside and on the outskirts of Montrose.
Well, if you've driven through,
I'm sure they're going to
if you've driven
be
through,
mindful of taking care of it. They're gonna make this kind of investment into
no, I
a
know,
business venture.
but I just Just want to be correct.
Okay, I'd be looking for a motion.
My two bits is that this is commercial. You know, the zoning decisions were made a long time ago as far as this is zone commercial, not residential. And so, you know, that would nudge me to the issue that I respect and understand the issue, that from a residential standpoint, it's aesthetically potentially not pleasing, but that decision was made before us.
Yes, but those decisions can be
It's
changed
commercial.
too.
It's zone commercial.
It's zone light industrial. It's
Right.
zone B2 business 2 and light industrial. It's not heavy industry.
Understand?
But mixed use mixed use really is the way of the future.
Okay, but that's my position is that,
Well,
sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. Thank you for your input. Okay. No further discussion. I'd look to have a motion before us.
I would motion to approve the conditional use permit for outdoor storage and all the whole project. I think it, like I said before, I think it's a very positive thing for the city.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would motion to say
nice second.
it's a go, or however I'm supposed to phrase that.
Yeah, just make sure that you include with the conditions provided by the planner and the engineer.
Okay, so which part here?
This thing?
Oh, with the conditions, yeah.
The conditions
I would-
that were
yeah.
recommended by the planner and engineer.
Okay.
Yep.
So, yeah, so I would motion to approve the project based on the conditions that the city planner came up with.
That'll
You
work.
want to say it differently? Sorry, I'm not a lawyer. My daughter's in law school, but me not so much.
Okay, do we have a second?
A second.
Okay, we're gonna do a roll call vote on this.
Okay.
Roger?
Aye, Roger Frank.
Aye.
Chuck Smollett, aye.
I will approve.
Okay.
Okay.
Passes 4-0. Okay. No old business. The tax increment financing district, Preserves of Montrose. Yes, I'll set that.
Mr. Chair, we have Mr. Shannon Sweeney here this evening to help discuss the TIF proposal.
Okay, good, because
Good evening. Shannon Sweeney with David Drown Associates. We're financial advisors to cities, counties, and townships. Hired by the city to assist in the process of implementing a tax increment financing district for the Preserve of Montrose housing development. At the recommendation of the EDA, the city council's been working with the developer on the sale of that property to see that it's developed for owner-occupied attached housing in the same format that it's been platted as and sat vacant for a number of years. A developer would essentially intend to execute that plat that was approved a number of years ago. The city's, at the recommendation of the EDA, looking at creating this district, which will capture the new property taxes associated with the new development that occurs there and potentially reimburse the developer a portion of those property taxes as an incentive to finish that development. They're in the process of negotiating a development agreement, and ultimately a public hearing will be held on March 11th with regard to the creation of that tax increment financing district. As a part of this process, there's an underlying development district within which it's called a project area, within which, ultimately, it's a regulation created under state statute that contemplated cities would have large project areas in multiple tax increment districts, and those tax increment districts could do projects within that larger project area. They'd capture the actual taxes from the development itself, and then they'd have a project area within which they could spend those increments. In large cities, those tend to be confined areas. In small cities, it tends to be the entire city. As I work for a lot of small cities, almost all of them have development districts. that are the entire city. And so at the end of the day, statute requires if we make any modifications to that development program, we're required to make a finding or make a recommendation, or ask the planning commission, I'll put it that way, for a recommendation with regard to the development that's expected to occur within the project area. And in this instance, we're working to promote the development of the Preserve of Montrose in the way that it was originally approved as a platted development and utilities were partially installed. And so that's the finding we're looking for within the resolution that was presented in your packet. Happy to answer questions with regard to that requested action, but at the end of the day, we're looking for you to affirm that that development is consistent with the plans for the city, which it's an approved plat. I would expect that it is, so. Okay. Fire away.
I have a question.
Sure,
When, is it J.B. Brooks?
yes.
When they presented the information to the Planning and Zoning Commission, they had detached homes and attached homes. But these homes are just going to be all attached, it's going to be,
They're going to be consistent with the original plat. There are some lots that would be detached housing, not a lot. The vast majority of it is attached housing, but that original plat includes a few, what I would characterize as single-family detached lots, yes.
okay, when we approved, or not approved, when we recommended to City Council that this developer proceed, it was curb, gutter, single-family homes, we had the setbacks, we had everything. But I don't have a copy of the old original presentation. Does anyone have a copy of that we can see?
No, not that I'm aware of.
No,
Not
that was
here
approved
anyway.
years ago. Yeah.
There may be something in an old file with the approval of the plat, but we didn't bring that here this
Right
evening.
across from the trailer.
But we don't know the structure of the neighborhoods,
I mean, there's
will it have curb and gutter and, or,
partway in, right? That's what that's what
Free
you're
to
talking
vote
about,
against
right?
this.
pardon?
You're free to vote against
Yeah, but
this
that's-
requested action if you don't
The
feel
road
it's
just goes a little
appropriate.
ways in, right?
Well, no,
the
I just
original
want to
plat.
know if it's, if they
Goes
have
back.
curb and gutter,
Road goes back to that.
as was presented to us.
I believe so.
Mr. Chair, Commission, maybe I can, the developer has proceeded on the understanding that they would develop the property as it was originally platted and approved, which includes curb and gutter and the mix of housing, as Mr. Sweeney indicated. If they propose to change that, they would need to come back to Planning Commission and show how they are changing the plat. But they are proceeding under the original approval, and that would include curb and gutter, revitalizing the utilities in the area,
Sidewalks.
building sidewalks, building and landscaping as was originally
Because,
required.
that's important to have, those amenities.
Yeah, and that was all on the original approval.
Well, I haven't seen that,
That was many years ago.
But
I
just
mean,
to
that was,
clarify, what you're asking for approval is to be able to negotiate
that was
a
back
deal
in
with these guys that
2007.
they're gonna get
No,
a tax benefit, a break?
No.
No, okay,
no.
Okay.
It's much simpler than that.
okay.
We're asking you to make the finding that the proposed development of the project area, as described in the modified municipal development program, which is this plat that
Yeah,
was
no,
previously
I know what you're talking about there.
approved, are generally consistent with the city's development plan and zoning ordinances, will serve to complement the city's plans for the creation of development opportunities in the city, and will serve to promote the city's development objectives.
So you're basically confirming that
Confirming that they're gonna follow this, what was said before.
Yes.
and that this is appropriate for the land use already assigned to that area.
My
They wanna
apologies,
do
I'm
what
a
was
finance
originally
guy.
done.
So I'm not very-
I'm kinda interested in that too, so I was like, that was interesting, so we're gonna, that makes sense. Well, I mean, you guys have any questions on that?
No,
So it would be a motion to approve resolution 2024-05.
That's
Sound
worded
like something,
simply.
that sound like something you should say.
That makes it easier.
Is most of this just taken from the statute?
Yes.
Yes, it is. In the statutes 469, 124 through 134, whatever?
No, like
Something like that.
1769, but yes, you're in the right vicinity.
Okay, well, it's complex.
It is. I spent 23 years
How are you going to
working with it.
propose the administration and maintenance issue in the city of Montrose?
What's that?
How are we supposed to, or how do you propose Section K, administration and maintenance, is going to take place in the
That
city of
was-
Montrose? We don't have a housing authority. This is all under the direction of Jessica.
Catherine, we're
All
just.
that we're asking tonight is just to confirm that the planned land use for that area is consistent with the already approved plat, so that it's residential and it's residential. We're not really getting into all of the details of the TIF agreement or the old TIF
Well,
agreement.
no, but that's what
Yeah, that's,
our literature.
okay.
The administration of the development district, you know, is basically speaking to the creation of multiple TIF districts that ultimately could have resources that are brought to bear to specific projects within the development district. It's the administrator's responsibility to essentially guide those through the public approval process. And so that's what it's indicating.
Okay. But the modification is considerable.
Yes. The original development program was created specifically for a senior housing project.
Yes.
We could have created a new one, you know, development district number 5, but that usually creates confusion, so we modified an existing development program just to
No, I
protect
understand
these.
that.
So we don't have to renumber and add another one
I'm
to the
very
pile.
informed about the Hirsch Judd
Sure,
EIF
sure.
too.
Okay. To get back to basics, I'll look for a motion for resolution 2024-05.
I move that resolve that we approve this
Yep,
resolution 2405.
yep.
I'll second that motion. I think it's good.
Second?
Okay. We'll do a roll call vote on this too.
Aye, Roger?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
All opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shannon.
All right, and with that, unless anybody has anything else to add, our next meeting will
Drive
be.
safely out there.
Yeah, drive safe.
Our next meeting will be on Wednesday, March 13th, 2024, here at the Community Center at 7 PM. Look for a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Close the meeting at 7:48.
Okay.
This will be on council agenda. March 11th. March 11th, right.